Hey, listen!
Welcome everyone, this is Andre's Restart, and this time we're going to be talking about whether we are getting a Pokemon Legends Kyurem or a Pokemon Black and White 3 next year, 2024, for the big Pokemon release that we tend to get almost every single year. Now, none of this is confirmed information yet, we are speculating on rumors. There's a little bit of a debate on what's being hinted or somewhat leaked here. Is it Black and White 3? Is it Legends Kyurem? Is it something else? That's what we're focusing on here, but yes, please take this all with a grain of salt. We don't know what's going to happen until it happens. Before we move forward though, let me point out that we are aiming to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you do enjoy my content, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. With your help, it can happen. And I'll probably be noting this the next week and a half or so, but because I'm on vacation, there will still be videos coming out, but the editing style is going to be taking more of a simple format, so just sit back, relax, and hear me out. So I've already made multiple videos on this subject, so I'm not going to elaborate on every single little thing, but a basic summary. The Riddler, who has a very good track record in terms of hinting at new Pokemon announcements and is pretty much right every single time, but it's always cryptic, so it's hard to say for sure what he's alluding to. But there was a poll that was put out asking about what could be the focus of the next generation, and all of them were Generation 5 related, but they were different styles of options. One of them included Black and White 3, another one included some sort of Paradox style game, another was a Let's Go style game, and another was Legends Kyurem, and that won the poll by a significant margin. And the Riddler follows up on this poll and acknowledges that Legends Kyurem is the most popular option amongst the community. Doesn't confirm or deny that that's what he's alluding to, but that is what has transpired. And if you've been following the Riddler or other people who share out his information, you'll notice is that the conversation has devolved into Legends Kyurem or Black and White 3 consistently, or something like that. Maybe a Paradox game is what some people have been getting at. Past and future. But part of the problem with this is that while the Riddler may have been hinting at what's to come in the future, and I do believe some of the things he's been saying are hinting at the future, most of what he's talking about has to do with the DLC that's coming out. A lot of the teases and hints are about another Pokemon reveal. And what's happened is that whenever you go to the replies to these tweets, it's, oh, he's referring to Legends Kyurem, or it's Black and White 3, and there's this constant conversation. So there's clearly a debate here, but also I think for a lot of these rumors, people might be looking a little bit too much into them, because they're hinting at something, but we're not sure exactly what. A good example is this tweet here. There was this shot of these really advanced buildings, and there was this other of these giant trees, and people were thinking, oh, so Legends was in the past, so the next game is going to be in the future. But what ended up being the case is that he was alluding to new Pokemon in the DLC, one of them including Duraludon's new evolution that's based off a bridge. Now with the news of the DLC, there do seem to be increasing more hints. Duraludon being based off of a bridge, being a dragon, being the Pokemon of Drayden, who seems to be related to Drayden, a Gen 5 dragon gym leader. It does feel like they're maybe at least paying homage or referencing Generation 5. That part seems pretty obvious. Bridges are a big theme in Generation 5, so a bridge dragon Pokemon definitely is alluding to that. But the point is, the hint was about a new Pokemon, not necessarily about future games. But the Pokemon could be hinting at Generation 5, but indirectly. So there's a lot of debate and potential confusion here. So another example, there's this tweet here that includes Link during a blood moon, but then also this other promotional art of Pokemon Black and White. So people then jump in that direction again, oh, is he hinting at Black and White? And then with a follow-up tweet, there's a teaser of this being some sort of type of Pokemon, and then with another follow-up tweet a few days later, he says new clue, it's not revealed yet, and then shows Pokemon Masters EX. So there's a lot of debate, there's a lot of room for interpretation, confusion, being wrong. But there's also a lot of reason to think that, hey, he's just referring to new Pokemon reveals for the DLC, which we have been getting. Of course, then he'll randomly post this promotional image of Reshiram and Zekrom dueling each other, which is the main legendaries from Pokemon Black and White. But if you check the replies, and this is all in Chinese, so I'm using translation here, someone replies to his tweet and says, great, Gringo will continue to say that next year will come out time in the future Legend Black and White. And then the Riddler responds, I want to know the source of the future legend of Chicken C, laughing emoji. You might even take it to mean that the Riddler is taking part in mocking a lot of people who are speculating about there being Legends Kyurem, which also includes me, by the way. But there is a language barrier here, and it's not truly certain what he is or isn't alluding to. But Generation 5 keeps popping up, and I do think that there's absolutely hints towards that. Outside of what the Riddler's saying, going back to the Duraludon and Drayton reference, we also have Perrin, who's clearly an ancestor of Adaman from Pokemon Legends. But then even going back to Pokemon Legends Arceus, we saw Ingo, who was the only other character besides the main character that was ripped from another time thanks to Arceus. And Ingo is from Generation 5. So, it could be the case, given the history of Pokemon games themselves hinting at what's to come, that they may be hinting at something Legends related here. That's what I'm leaning towards. Not so much a sequel to Pokemon Black and White 2. But, we don't actually know what the game is going to be called. When I say Legends Kyurem, that is just clearly what most people respond to. That's what we're sort of thinking is what the game's going to be somewhat like. It doesn't actually have to have the Legends naming. It doesn't even have to necessarily be based off Kyurem, although I think there's a really good chance it will, or at least something related to Kyurem. It's more so about there likely being a Pokemon game next year that's related to Generation 5 that isn't going to be in the same gameplay style as Scarlet and Violet, and it's probably not going to be just a basic remake because it's too soon to get those kinds of remakes. Unless you account for maybe a Let's Go style game, which I already argued against in my initial video on this Legends Kyurem rumor because the Legends games show more promise in selling better. If you look at the sales numbers, you might say, no, hold up a second, Let's Go sold better than Arceus. Yes, but only barely. It's been out for far longer. It's based off Generation 1 nostalgia. There are two different versions. It had an entire year of marketing plus a holiday. Legends, on the other hand, just had one version, was cut off by Scarlet and Violet. It didn't have a holiday, and hasn't been out for as much time. Yet it's right under Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. And it's not riding Gen 1 nostalgia hype. It's just an awesome, cool game. So if we're just talking about between a Let's Go style game and something like Legends, doesn't actually have to be called Legends, I think more people are going to be angling towards that, the Legends style gameplay. That said, I do think that there is a solid chance it may still have the Legends name moniker. When you come out with a game and you say Pokemon, then Legends, then Arceus, there's several distinctions there. Not only is it a Pokemon game, it's a Pokemon Legends game. But not only is this a Pokemon Legends game, this is Pokemon Legends Arceus. It's specified even further, implying that in the future, there can be a Pokemon Legends Kyurem, for example, or Celebi, for example. There's options there. On the flip side, they could also do that for the Pokemon Let's Go series as well. They haven't yet, but that doesn't mean they won't eventually go back at one point or another. There's an implication by creating these sub-naming for their series that they can follow them up. They may not necessarily follow them up, but if they sell really well, I think there's reason to go back at one point or another. I also understand that giving these separate names also helps to distinguish them from other games. And maybe the reason they use that additional naming, like Pikachu and Eevee as opposed to just Let's Go, or Arceus as opposed to just Legends, is because by putting in those names, it's telling people what this is based off of in terms of generation. So that helps people to sort of decide and differentiate it a little bit more. Totally possible. Regardless though, given that this year we haven't gotten a new mainline release because we're getting DLC instead, I would say next year is very likely to be a new game, especially considering the rumors and hints it seems we're getting from the Pokemon games. I think it would be weird to follow up Pokemon Black and White 2 with Pokemon Black and White 3 so many years removed, especially because when there is a numbering system involved, if someone hasn't played Pokemon Black and White 1 and Pokemon Black and White 2, Black and White 3 may lack as much meaning. It's not like every single game in the Pokemon series is numbered. This is a specific set of games. So I personally don't think it's going to be called Pokemon Black and White. Could it be called Pokemon Paradox because it's not necessarily set in the past, or Pokemon Prophecy if it's set in the future? Those are possibilities, and maybe that becomes its own separate sub-series, But I like the idea of just calling the games Legends because then people know what it is. If you start coming out with different names to suggest the same style of gameplay, that becomes confusing. Of course, I'm making this assumption that it's going to be the Legend style gameplay. It could be something else entirely different. And that also might be potentially pretty exciting, depending on what direction they're going in. So I'm still on Team Legends Kyurem, but I just want it to be known that I'm not expecting it to for sure be called Legends Kyurem. It may have a different name. The gameplay variation may be a bit different, but I do believe something Generation 5 related is coming out next year. And I think it's going to be a more catered, optimized experience compared to other Pokemon games that have come out as of late, which makes it all the more exciting, like Legends Arceus. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. This is Andres Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.